Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope you guys have had a great Sunday and a great weekend as we're about to work our way into the next work week, our first full work week of April. Looks to be very active as far as severe weather, and it really cranks up tomorrow as they have upgraded it to an enhanced risk for some nasty severe thunderstorms tomorrow for a certain area. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Tuesday threat too. And we're probably not going to talk so much on the Wednesday threat. We're going to let another 24 hours go by, and we're really going to talk about that Wednesday threat. But we're really going to break down tomorrow and tomorrow overnight into Tuesday morning. And then for your Tuesday morning severe weather threat for areas like Georgia and the Carolinas, really talking about South Carolina. There's a good bit to talk about in this video, but it's not going to be quite as long as yesterday's evening's video. But there is a lot to talk about, so we're going to get as detailed as possible. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Hit me up on social media. Twitter's a great way to interact with me. Facebook's another. I have a goal to hit 10,000 likes on Facebook, currently at around 4,700 likes, so it's a big-time goal of mine also there. If you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it. It gives others an opportunity to do so too. We all can look out for one another and glorify God doing it. So let's get going in this video. As I mentioned, hope you guys are having a great evening. So this is upgraded to an enhanced risk. It was a pretty broad level of a slight risk if you've been following along on my last few videos. It is now an enhanced risk inside this slight risk. So this is for areas just west of Dallas, Texas, stretching through Shreveport, Louisiana, areas of northern Louisiana, and then this area of southwest Mississippi, including Jackson, Mississippi, and places just south of Jackson. This is really a damaging wind-driven enhanced risk, which means yes, there is a tornado threat. There's a 5% risk. A lot of times they upgrade a slight to an enhanced risk, which is a level 2 to a level 3 because of a tornado increase from 5 to 10%. But this is actually upgraded because you get an upgrade from a 10% chance of damaging winds occurring in 25 miles in any given point in this location to a 30% risk in this enhanced area. And what we're watching here is a bowing segment of a line of severe thunderstorms that really gets cranked up late tomorrow evening in areas of northeast Texas. Then it moves through Louisiana, portions of southern Arkansas, and then makes its way into the late time frame, meaning into Tuesday morning, into Mississippi and places like that. Then we get into Tuesday, and we really see how much this holds together. Tuesday, it's its own ball game. It's associated with the same system, but it's a totally different thing to talk about. So there is a hail threat with this also. It's a pretty high hail threat, nothing crazy or substantial or anything, but there's going to be a chance for hail with this setup for sure. So let's go on and talk about Monday. So that's tomorrow for your April 4th into tomorrow morning. I'm going to give you another update on this for your daily forecast tomorrow, and rightfully so because we'll have some more data. So let's look at the latest long-range HRRR model. So this goes all the way out to 48 hours. Let's take a look at Texas. So we're going through here in time. Tonight, here in the next couple hours, we're going to have some severe thunderstorms where there's already a slight risk right here between now and tomorrow morning. That's not what we're really talking about, but I'll mention it here because it pops up. So if you're in this area right here in southwest Oklahoma, way outside of Oklahoma City, and then this area of Texas right here, watch out for some severe thunderstorms. This will die out, and then we start to get into tomorrow afternoon. You start to see some convection firing up here, maybe some showers and storms in Oklahoma, but you really start to watch this right here. Watch as we start to get into tomorrow, late afternoon, evening. Watch out Dallas, Texas, as we're starting to get to around, this is after the sun goes down. Dallas, Texas, for example, Fort Worth, points east, starts to really experience a nasty bowing segment of a developing line, a developing bowing segment of a line. So it's called a mesoscale convective system, or in this situation, you really wouldn't call it a quasi-linear convection system because it's not really associated with a cold front. This is just a big-time bowing, damaging wind threat that really starts to take hold here. A low-level jet gets fired up right here, and I'll show you that here in a second. And therefore, at around 10, 11 p.m., around midnight tomorrow night, this begins to get cranked up here, and it really starts to consolidate or congeal as it gets into areas of Arkansas and then into Louisiana. So we'll start this here. Moving forward here it is. This is this bowing line. So the enhanced risk, which you see right here, to me, this is really not necessarily for tomorrow during the day. It really cranks up tomorrow evening into tomorrow night, especially once you get into the eastern frame of this 30% risk, like Shreveport, into areas of southwest Mississippi. So we'll flip it back to this, and here it is. Here's this damaging line of storms potentially that can really get going here. And this is bowing out here and hitting Jackson, Mississippi here at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then starting to get knock on the doorstep of Baton Rouge, for example. Maybe even gets into New Orleans, but it could skip just north of you guys. And then we get into the next time frame. So, I'll stop it here and we'll jump and look at some of the dynamics in place. There's a lot of wind ahead of this. So we kind of look at all the wind energy associated with this as we're getting going here in time. We're getting into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And here's the line right here. You see this really, it's going to be kind of hard to see on your screen, but you see this area in red right here. That's potential wind gusts miles per hour reaching 60, 70 miles per hour. So in the most intense areas of this line of storms, the winds could be very, very strong. And especially if this thing really bows out. One thing I'll mention is the HRRR model is a little different. Actually, it's a good bit different than the NAM. The NAM has this really broken up, especially once it gets into Mississippi and Alabama. I might be able to show you an example of that here going forward here. But really, what I want to show you here is the reason why there's such a substantial damaging wind threat is because we get going here in time. I'll go on and fast forward all the way into this evening. Here it is. Here's that low pressure, that weak surface low that really gets going here. And really, that's the surface low is really up here. But anyways, don't focus too much on that L. Look at this low-level jet that gets cranked up here, pushing 40, 50, maybe 60 knots. This winds will mix the surface, and it's associated and alongside of this bowing segment of a line. So you have that wind energy. That's really why you're having an enhanced risk in here. It's driven by such a strong kinematics, which is the wind energy. So everything I just said, take from it, you're going to have a damaging wind threat and an isolated tornado threat. I haven't mentioned that. You have a low-level jet. You have that low-level moisture. Dew points in this area will be into the 60s, pushing close to 70. So you're going to have CAPE ahead of this storm too, and I'll show you that here in a second. So you're going to have a chance along this bowing segment of a line for a quick spin-up embedded in this line. This is going to be overnight, so it's going to be dangerous tomorrow night if you're in Louisiana and maybe even far southern sections of Arkansas. Once you get into about central Arkansas, it's mainly heavy rain, maybe a flash of lightning, a rumble of thunder. But after that, besides that, not really a huge threat. But you look at this low-level jet that continues to get driven east. This will power a severe weather threat for your Tuesday, which is what we will now jump into. So right now, there is a big-time marginal threat stretching from Charlotte, North Carolina, all the way back to New Orleans. But remember, this line of storms you see right here, this begins to enter this risk period. So as you see it right here, this is actually what that slight risk is up for right here. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is the western areas right over here of this severe weather threat, this marginal and slight risk. I think this will really be for the morning time hours to midday. What's going to get interesting is this little section right in here in Georgia, maybe even areas of southern South Carolina, maybe southeast Alabama, maybe even the panhandle of Florida. What happens? There's a lot of questions here with the Tuesday threat as how much will the atmosphere recover? How much is it going to destabilize? There's a lot of questions as far as how much CAPE will build in this area. But if CAPE is able to build in this area, and I'll talk about it here in a second, you could get upgraded to an enhanced risk in here. In fact, I would not be surprised if it happens, depending on how the dynamics really fit together and kind of congeal together to kind of create kind of the pivotal point, if you will, for the most dynamic severe weather. But let's go on and take a look at this as a whole moving forward here. This is the HRRR model. We're getting going here. And here it comes. Here comes our big-time system firing up here. And it's a bowing line, heavy rain mainly for northern Mississippi. And this gets going here, and you see these isolated cells out in front of this. And then we're getting into Tuesday morning. And then what happens here, right? If you look at the HRRR model, it looks like a nasty line of storms gets into the western panhandle of Florida, areas of southeast Alabama as you're getting into around the midday time frame. But really, you're getting into Georgia. This looks like a big blob of heavy rain and maybe some storms embedded into this. It really does. And this is as far out as it goes for about 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it looks like the entire state of Georgia, just about, except southeast Georgia, just has a whole lot of heavy rain. But you flip this over and you look at let's see if I can get it up real quick. You look at the NAM. for the same kind of deal. It looks a little different, right? So let's go on and start off here at the beginning of the risk period for your Tuesday. And it just looks a lot different. First of all, it doesn't really have a bowing segment of a line all the way down here in Florida. It looks to me like it's a more broken up area, and you have a lot of convection, a lot of moisture, a lot farther north actually. And it's just a big question mark. And another thing you got to watch out for is any individual cells that develops behind this could have a hell threat, because you have steep mid-level lapse rates to really probably funnel in here with more cold air aloft behind this main convection. But either way you put it, there is going to be a lot of surface moisture ahead of this, meaning you're going to have dew points well into the 60s, pushing the 70s. So I think you're going to have some high-level cape that has the potential to build in this area, but this looks very messy to me. A very messy setup Tuesday, a lot of rain. In fact, there could be big-time flooding that sets up depending on where the heaviest rain falls the longest. And really, you got to watch out maybe these other individual cells that develop behind this. But what happens here? It's a big question here. Watch out these little cells that start to develop late Tuesday evening in the North Georgia areas of the Carolinas. And then you stop it here. Like these cells right here are in an environment where, they're capable of producing some tornadoes overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning for the Carolinas here in South Carolina, North Carolina. Sorry, my brain skipped a beat there. But moving forward here, and we'll take another look at the NAM. It shows that, it just shows a big blob of rain. But you watch here, does any cape build after the atmosphere destabilizes right here after the moisture builds? This could be another threat area here in southeast Georgia for some nasty storms. But look at these storms developing later Tuesday afternoon in Alabama, Mississippi, Birmingham, watch out, Huntsville. Do these storms have any big-time severity level to it? With this surface low moving and ejecting itself across the Ohio Valley. So one thing you'll watch here is look at all the low-level moisture in place. This erodes very, very quickly as you get into Tuesday morning. You'll notice you'll wake up to some crisp air across maybe areas of Georgia and the Carolinas, northern Alabama, and the humidity will really build throughout the day, and we'll get it all the way to the last panel. You're still clinging to the 50s and dew points at around 2 p.m. Tuesday here in the Carolinas, but look at Georgia starting to build dew points into the 60s, pushing 70. Humid air quickly taking over basically Tuesday, the atmosphere will basically totally shift depending on where you are. In Georgia, you'll wake up to a crisp, almost springtime, fall-like air mass, if you will, and then by afternoon, it will be kind of taken over by a more humid summer atmosphere here as the atmosphere really gets going here. And because of that, you have to watch out for cape as the dew points really kick in and really get going here and really build in this area. That moisture builds out the Gulf of Mexico. You have to watch for the cape to build Tuesday. Now, this only goes out to 48 hours here, or 47 hours out. I'm missing that final hour. And you can see it building down here. But one thing you see here is you don't have a lot of cape building very far north. It's really starting to build where the dew points are able to rise and buoyancy is able to occur here. But, how far north does this cape get? Now, we look at the NAM, and the NAM, I want to mention here, and the last frame I'm about to show you guys is very important because it's going to mash well with everything I'm trying to say here for the Threat Tuesday. The NAM really builds the cape here. It really does. The NAM tends to overdo cape big time, but it really wants to build it regardless if rain falls in any areas. What I'm saying is when rain falls, it really stabilizes the atmosphere, cools down the atmosphere. Therefore, how much does the sun come out after it rains? And that's going to be a big question all day Tuesday across the southeast. But if you look at the NAM, cape really builds all the way into North Carolina. You got cape levels reaching Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, reaching over 1,000 joules per kilogram, 1,500, 2,000 in some cases, but the NAM tends to overdo cape. I want to remind you guys that. But you look at that, and then you look at the low-level jet that will be riding across the southeast in response to this surface trough or surface low riding across the mid-south and southern sections of the Ohio Valley. If you look at the NAM, which is probably overdoing it a little bit, it really puts a low-level jet pushing 40, 50, 60 knots over Georgia right when there's a lot of convection over here that the NAM is showing. Now, a lot of storms really fire up here also behind all this moisture where daytime heating is able to help these storms to build again. But you notice the wind energy aloft is displaced from these storms. So I really think if any storms develops back here, like the NAM is showing right here, I really think this will be mainly maybe a damaging wind threat, maybe a hail threat. But any storms that, develop right into here, it's going to be backed by a low-level jet. There's going to be some veering in the atmosphere in the low levels. So there's going to be a spin. There's going to be able to rotate. There's going to be rotating storms is what I'm trying to say. But is there a big-time, maybe regional tornado outbreak? Hard to tell. I'm leaning towards no, but I do think there's going to be an enhanced risk introduced. Could be totally wrong, but there's so many differences with the models right now that's posing a lot of question marks to the Storm Prediction Center. But you look at the low-level jet riding over this area, and then it's getting into 10, 11 p.m., at the same time, the NAM has this low-level jet pushing 40, 50 knots over this area. And, if you go jump back and you look at this, that's at the same time when you have some pretty nasty storms starting to move into areas of South Carolina, maybe even North Carolina, Northern Virginia. So the NAM wants to say, hey, there could be a little bit of a tornado threat late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning for areas of the Carolinas. There's a little bit of talk about that on Twitter and some of the weather forums today, but we have to see how this is going to happen. The NAM and the HRRR model are much different on Tuesday. So Tuesday is going to be a hot topic, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Stay tuned. I'll try to keep y'all updated, but it's going to be another active week. And so I know people, it's like, I've had a lot of comments say, gosh, man, I really wish we could figure out something else to talk about. Nobody's quote unquote said that, but trust me, I agree with you guys. I'm much rather be talking about winter weather, or I like talking about hurricanes too. Those are my two favorite. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great start to your week. I'll give you an update in the morning on the severe weather threat for Monday, and then obviously tomorrow evening we'll dive deeper into Tuesday, which I think it's going to be a pain to deal with on its own. God bless all y'all. Have a great Sunday evening.